Okay, well, maybe we'll start. And yeah, Chris, we had a particular topic planned for this meeting. So I think I'll continue with that. And please excuse me if some of the things are kind of, they don't, you're not quite familiar with them. But we can have another meeting at another time, and we can have a more introductory discussion. Any time. I'm happy for one-on-one or group or whatever. But please excuse us if you don't quite follow everything. Is Chris still there? Or I'm not sure she's still there. Okay. Okay. Anyhow, so we had Dandavat pranams for all of you. Very happy to have your good company right now. I have to confess, I wanted to prepare something really nice for Chintamani. It's been very hectic, and today I've been packing, and because we're traveling very early tomorrow morning. So I haven't had a chance to prepare for a topic, but we can explore the topic together. And I have been thinking about it a little bit today. So it was a very nice topic suggested by Chinmoy Prabhu. The relationship between faith, devotion, and surrender. And there are many things that can be discussed here. We could perhaps first have some discussion of, Chris, I don't know if you heard me before, but I was just apologizing in advance if you don't follow everything, because we had a topic planned for today, and but maybe another time we could have a one-on-one discussion, or we could have another group meeting, more introductory topic. So okay, so I hope you can get something out of today. So this was our topic: faith, devotion, and surrender. Shraddha, Bhakti, and Sharanagati, and what is the relationship between these three things? And maybe first we can have some general discussion. Okay, we have a Jashoda Nandan joining us. Welcome, Jashoda Nandan Prabhu. Where are you calling in from? Okay, he wants to be anonymous.
No, he came with us. He's attended one meeting with Sripad Bhakti Shri Keshav Maharaj, or two actually, and he's been very enthusiastic and very moved by the. And he has exposure before, very much to Gaudiya Vaishnavism too.
Okay, from Illinois.
Maybe not unmuting, or he might be driving or something too.
Okay. Okay, well, welcome Jashoda Nandan. So Shraddha, first we can discuss something of the nature of faith. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a famous definition of Shraddha that is given there. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sujirda Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sujirda Nishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. So Shraddha faith is defined as the firm conviction that through Krishna Bhakti, through devotion to Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, everything can be attained, everything can be achieved. There's also a very nice analogy given in Srimad Bhagavatam illustrating this. Yata tudor mulani shaitanena tripyanti tat skanda bujopashakaha pranapaharak chaya tendriyanam tataiva savarhanam achute ja, gives this analogy of watering the root of a tree, that if you want to give nourishments to a tree, then you don't put water on the flowers or the leaves or the branches, but you put your water at the root of the tree. And from there, the water will be evenly distributed and nourish the whole of the tree. And also the example is given there that if you are hungry or you're weak, or you're malnourished, then you will nourish yourself with food through the mouth to the stomach. And from the stomach, all the nutrients will be distributed throughout the whole body. You won't put food in your eyes or your ears or your nose. You'll put food in your mouth to your stomach. So in the same way, faith, Shraddha, is this growing conviction that Krishna is all in all. That through devotion, through service, through dedication to Krishna, who represents the center of all of existence, who represents the absolute center, the foundation, the substantial current of the whole of existence. By giving our attention there, everything can be attained. That is everything. That is all in all. So many different subject matters, so many different causes may be discussed, but as Shraddha grows, then that conviction will develop in a stronger and stronger way. We will feel this is everything, and everything else it is completely inferior. And this Shraddha, it is a divine substance. It is of a divine characteristic. We are told also in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Shraddha, it is not something to be what is that verse? A very famous verse. Shravan Kirtan Jale Kodoye Udoy. But saying that Shraddha, or I think the word used there is prema, divine love. It is not something to be acquired from an outside source. It is actually something existing in a dormant state within the heart of every living and within the hearts of every living soul. So it is actually our own, it is a very peculiar thing. And this is something that is discussed very extensively in commentaries of different acharyas, different teachers in our lines. There are people who go crazy over this point. Like, what exactly does this mean? But essentially what it means is that we have that potential in our heart. And however, we cannot awaken it by ourselves. We need an outside source to help us awaken and develop that wealth within our own hearts. And so that begins through connection with the saints, with the sadhus. And so there's that famous verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jivu Krishna Prashade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, that the souls, they're wandering and wandering throughout so many different planes of existence and passing through so many different species of life in the process of transmigration. And the fortunate soul will receive the seed of devotion or the seed of faith through connection with the saints, with the sadhus. And that is and the first contact that will bring about the development of what is called agyata sukriti. So this is something to remember in our discussion, that Shraddha is actually the same substance that develops into prema. Sukriti, it's a line of development. Sukriti, Shraddha, and prema, they're actually all the same substance at different degrees of development. So what begins as sukriti, as some divine fortune, some divine merit, that will develop in favorable circumstances, that will develop into Shraddha, into firm faith. And that Shraddha will develop into prema, divine love. So through the contact of the saints, of the sadhus, the fortunate soul will develop some agyata sukriti, will begin with agyata sukriti, unknowingly incurring some spiritual fortune, you know, and that could be simply through opening the door for a sadhu, or having some appreciation for them, or serving them in a hospital, or it could be anything, any small thing. And through that contact, that positive contact, then the journey will begin. And so agyata sukriti, unconscious divine fortune, will begin to accumulate. And if that accumulates, if that develops to a sufficient degree, it will become gyata sukriti, conscious sukriti. And when some questioning will awaken within one, some consciousness, some eagerness, some sincere seeking tendency will awaken within one, and some attraction will begin to develop in them towards the transcendental plane, towards the nirguna plane, the divine plane. And then in the conscious association of the sadhus, then shraddha, some real tangible faith will begin to develop, some faith that this is all in all, that this is everything. That will begin to develop within the heart of the seeker. So then that shraddha, and Gurudev many times he would refer to faith, to shraddha, as the foundation of our spiritual lives, of our practicing lives, and he would describe faith as the basis. He sometimes, we've been discussing this rocket analogy. Gurudev would sometimes use this rocket analogy, and he would describe faith as the launching pad, you know, that can launch our rocket to the spiritual sky. So faith is the foundation, and also I was so if we're looking at the relationship between faith and surrender, sharanagati, then we can understand faith to be the foundation of sharanagati, of surrender. And so the primary verse which I've been considering in regards to our discussion is this verse that Srila Sridhar Maharaj wrote as part of the introduction of his Prapana Jivanamrita, his treatise on surrender. And also it is a concise summary of the key elements of sharanagati, of surrender. Chinmoy, for the first word, please. Everybody knows this verse. Bhagavad Bhakti Ta.
Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam.
Yes, Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam Ityuchija Viderapi Kain Karyam Krishna Padaka Shayatam Sharanagati. I know Madhusudana Maharaj, he always, you know, make sure everybody learns this verse. So anyone who's been joining the back to basics, no doubt they know it very well, which is good because I know Govinda Nandini knows. Gurudev, he commented about this verse that if you can only take one verse into your heart, then make it this verse. If you can only learn one verse and put that into your heart, make it this verse. That is Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam Ityuchija Viderapi Kain Karyam Krishna Padaka Shayatam Sharanagati. And it is as I said, it is a concise definition of surrender. And so the first point mentioned there is actually the definition of shraddha, of faith. Bhagavad Bhakti Ta Sarvam. Chintamani is asking, I'm sure Chinmoy Prabhu or Govinda Nandini, they can they can post it. Chintamani is asking for the verse, if anyone has it handy. Okay, Govinda Nandini's on it. It is in Revealed Truth. There's a very nice section in Revealed Truth where Gurudev discusses it. And also in
Prapana Jivanamrita.
Moipur. It's in Prapana, yeah, it's in Prapana Jivanamrita, of course. And then Gurudev discusses it. It's in the first chapter of Prapana Jivanamrita. And Gurudev discusses it in Revealed Truth and also Golden Reflections, a little known treasure. So Bhagavad Bhakti Tasarvam means the faith that through Bhagavad Bhakti, through bhakti to the Lord, through devotion to the Lord, sarvam, everything can be attained. So this is the definition of Shraddha, and here Srila Sridhar Maharaj includes that as one of the core elements of Sharanagati, of surrender. And so what does everything mean? Gurudev has mentioned two main points in this regard. One I think of as being more applicable to an Indian mindset, and another more applicable to a Western mindset. The Indian mindset, or the traditional Indian mindset, being more concerned with duty. Actually, the whole of the Vedic instruction, it's mostly based on duty, or the whole. Or we can say that the whole of the Varnashram system, the social religious system of India, it is based upon this principle of duty. Karma yoga, which is a key element of the Varnashram system, it is based on this sense of duty, of doing one's duty to society, to family, whatever it may be, to ascertain what is one's duty, and then to carry that out in a selfless manner, without desiring any results for one's own individual gain. This is what the Varnashram system, this is what karma yoga is based upon. The spirit of selfless duty. And so it is this actually a very wonderful and very harmonious way to live one's life. Because just by living in this world, we're automatically incurring so many debts from the environment. And so in the Vedas, there are, I don't remember, I see different ones listed in different places, but there are particular debts that are described as being automatically incurred by any soul upon being born in this world. And so there's debts, there's a debt in particular to one's ancestors, there's a debt to the sages who have given us the scripture, there's a debt to the devas, to the gods who are supplying all the elements that help us to survive in this world, rain and sun and wind and air and so on and so forth. A debt to humankind in general. So there are these particular debts, and then there's different things which are described as being appropriate ways to nullify those debts. I think to the sages, it's by studying scripture. To the ancestors, by having children. This is why family is so important for Indians, because it's actually like a part of the Vedic religion. And you'll see in traditional households, their parents are on their altar, their grandparents, their relatives they consider them worshipable. So and so on and so forth. There are particular debts which are described, and then to the devas, to the gods, you nullify the debt, I believe, through sacrifices. So there are these particular debts that are identified, and then different ways of squaring up with them, they're also described. So, so the reassurance is given, and this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, right? That don't worry about all of these different obligations that you have. If you will simply come to carry out your central duty, I am at the root of the whole. I am at the center of everything. If you come and give your energy there to the absolute fundamental center of everything, then all the other duties, they will be taken care of automatically. So this is the reassurance that is given. And this is the definition of faith, that my duty to society, my duty to whatever it may be, it can all be fulfilled. If you come to carry out this central duty, then all the smaller duties, they'll automatically be fulfilled. So that is one way of understanding this. And then another way, which I think of as being more applicable to a Western mindset, is that whatever happiness you're seeking, you'll get the most here. Whatever fulfillment, whatever joy, whatever fantasy you're looking to be fulfilled, you'll get it to the utmost in connection with Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is a Kila Rasamrita Murti. He is the embodiment of all types of rasa, all types of pleasure. Everything that we're searching after in the foods that we eat, in the movies that we watch, in the places that we go, the parties that we attend, the travel to this place and that place that we may go on to see so many sights and do so many things and taste so many foods. All of this, what is called anya bilash, like all of our random pleasure-seeking fantasies and tendencies. We are told you can get everything in connection with Krishna and 1 trillion times more, so don't waste your time. Whatever happiness you are seeking, whatever you are lacking, it can all be met in connection with Krishna. That is also an element of faith, to have that type of faith. That everything I want, everything that I need, everything I'm seeking after, it can all be met in connection with Krishna. So Bhagavad Bhakti ta sarvam. This is the first thing Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions as a key element of surrender, of Sharanagati. And Ityutrija viderapi kaimkaryam. And so that faith will be so developed, one will have such strong conviction that everything can be attained in connection with Krishna, to the extent that if necessary, one will even give up the scriptural rulings in order to fulfill their service to the Lord. Then they may even have to break the rules. And this is not something that resonates so much with Western-minded persons. Like, we don't have much of a problem with breaking the rules. Rules don't really mean very much. We can't follow them anyway, so there's no question of giving them up. We could never do them in the first place. But it's still, it's a principle that is necessary for us to keep in mind, and it's also highlighting the need to keep our focus on the spirit of what we are doing. Welcome, Doyamoy, Dandavat. that it is not so much about the letter of the law as it is about the spirit of the law. So we can appreciate this as a general principle. You know? If we take just a very simple example, the first random thing that's coming in my mind, if we take the example of chanting our japa, chanting on our chanting beads, japa mala, then we have to remember more the whole overall spirit of what it is that we're doing. It's not about you know, checking a box of how many rounds you've managed to chant today, you know, whether it's 4 or 16. It's not about a particular number or quantity, but we have to remember it is an overall spirit that we are cultivating. It is a mood that we are cultivating. It is primarily a heart transaction, and it is primarily our practice is based primarily on trying to increase the spirit of dedication. And so, just as a simple example, if there's some urgent service, like living service necessity, then we may have to decide our japa mala in order to fulfill that higher service duty. You know, you know, in our dealings with the devotees, our focus will be more on cultivating the spirit of devotion rather than so much adherence to particular rulings. Just random examples that are coming to mind. Sometimes we see new persons come to visit one of our temples for the first time, and they're not so familiar with some of the customs, and they may do some awkward things which you know, disturb other persons, but we'll try to be a little easygoing on them. You know, maybe they're in the temple not dressed exactly how we would expect them to dress, or not sitting in the way we would exactly expect them to sit, you know, but we'll be a little relaxed, you know, because it's not about following a particular formula. It's about nourishing, you know, everyone has to develop in a natural and in a gradual and in a healthy way, and at a pace that they are comfortable with. You know, there's a very beautiful section in Sri Guru and His Grace, where Srila Sridhar says, we are the messiahs of developing free internal faith in the Lord. We are the messiahs of developing free internal faith in the Lord. And then he goes on to discuss how it is important that there is not overemphasis on rules and regulations, especially for beginners, because he says too much strictness, it will damage faith. Too much strictness, too much imposing of the rules, it will disturb faith. Faith is a very soft faith, you know, kamala shraddha. You know, we have to be very careful in dealing with that. It is a very, very delicate thing. And so we have, especially with newcomers, you know, we have to be very careful not to overload them with all these, unnecessary, what are really unnecessary things at that stage that won't mean anything to them at that stage. You know, we tend to get a little kind of caught up, especially persons like myself, because, you know, I'm living in this environment all the time, but some of like the most minor things that we do, they can appear very strange to someone coming in for the first time, you know, like giving obeisances on the grounds, like, what is that, you know, or doing circumambulation of the tulasi plants, like how weird is that gonna look, you know? So like you've got somebody coming in and they're already like freaking out about all these like weird things going on, and then you're gonna like tell them, oh, sit like this, sit like that, and you know, put on this a better shirt or whatever, you know, like we're already looking incredibly strange. So we have to remember, you know, sometimes I'm surprised with some of the things that people come away with. You know, they can be impressed or unimpressed with some very surprising things, you know. Like I've repeatedly, like I think three different occasions in 3 different places, I've experienced someone telling me, as like a newcomer, that like the first takeaway they had was how impressed they were with the fire lamp. You know, like, you know, we had like a whole program, we had like chanting, we had kirtan, we had discussion, and then what really stuck out for them was the fire lamp, was the ghee lamp, you know. Like, wow, that was like really mystical. Like, what was that, you know? I think it was two different people who told me that. And then a devotee told me that when they first joined, that was one of the things that really impressed them. I'm talking about the tilak, sure. So you know, like the most unexpected things can really like stick out in somebody's mind, you know. It's such a different environment. They don't have the same context that we have. So we have to be a little relaxed, you know. And also we have to remember not to overload them, you know, like with information, like just like you can tell them 1 or 2 things that would just blow their minds, and they'll spend the rest of the week thinking about that, you know. So I've made that mistake before, of just like, you know, eagerly wanting to tell somebody new everything, and it's just very overwhelming, you know. So anyway, this point of not being overly fixed on the rules and regulations. There's one very nice incident that we can remember. Gurudev loved this story. One godbrother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, he was very revolutionary. Sorry, that isn't what I meant to say. I meant to say he was a very powerful preacher. Of course, he was also revolutionary. He was a very faithful disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was the ultimate revolutionary in Krishna consciousness. And so Goswami Maharaj was one of the most prominent and powerful preachers in Saraswati Thakur's mission. And so there was one occasion when he was preaching somewhere. It might have been like in Kashmir or something like that. But it was an area where they didn't have any local contacts. They didn't have any like family or part of the family nearby, some friends. And so they took their meal in some kind of a restaurant. And the food, it wasn't up to their like the strict Vedic standard that they normally followed in the temple. And there were some onions in the food there, and of course, according to the strict sattvic guidelines given in the Vedas, you know, onions are unacceptable. And so they received this food, and then everyone's about to start eating, and then somebody saw there were onions in there and made some objection. This is not pure. We can't eat this. And Goswami Maharaj, he said very strongly, you know, this is you see onions and I see Mahaprasad. You know, this is the divine remnants of the Lord. You know, this is divine substance. This is the Lord's grace, the Lord's mercy. You know, we are hungry. We need some food. We've come here and something's been supplied to us. I'm seeing this is coming directly from the Lord. You're seeing it in a material way, but I'm seeing this is the Lord's grace. And we saw also that Gurudev was very, you know, he was very accommodating in this regard, and he he was very, he was always focused on the heart exchange, you know, and there's many examples of that, and not all of them we can say while we're being recorded. Some of them are more, you know, private, off-camera stories. But so many occasions, Gurudev would overlook some of these you know, rulings in favor of the natural heart exchange. You know, like one example is there were some new Chinese devotees who brought him a gift of some rice wine, and he didn't drink it, but he put it very proudly in a very prominent place in his sitting room where he would receive visitors and devotees. And so, you know, like anyone coming in there could see that very easily. It was right there on full display, and they could criticize him. You know, what kind of a sadhu is this? He's keeping alcohol and on his shelf. You know, what is this? You know, Gurudev didn't care. He didn't care what anybody would think. You know, he was taking this as a gift, as an affectionate gift from these sincere devotees who didn't know any better. They're not, you know, they don't know anything. And he's accepting that and proudly putting it on display, you know. And there was one occasion, Gurudev was at an airport, and somebody handed Gurudev some biscuit. It was what's the word? What do you call it? Like the things that you buy in shop? No, like a packet, confectionery, or like a, you know, just a factory biscuit in a packet. And Gurudev received it, and he was opening it. He was about to eat it, and then another devotee went running over. And like whispered in Gurudev's ear, "Oh, Gurudev, this has," and I don't know exactly what it was, but it was some impure ingredient. He knew that particular brand of biscuit, and he whispered it, "Oh, Gurudev, I know this is not pure and such ingredient." Then Gurudev just said to him, you know, very simply, he said, "Prabhu, I am accepting the affection of the devotees. I'm not thinking about what's inside of this, and I'm not taking it for my own enjoyment. This devotee, sincere devotee, is giving this to me with so much affection, and I'm taking that." He was always operating from the level of a Paramahamsa. He was always extracting the essence out of every situation. So that, you know, we have to, of course, we can't go too much the other side, become too lax about everything. It's always the middle path in Krishna consciousness. In Upadeshamrita, that phrase niyamagraha is there in the unfavorable qualities, to be either too much attached to the rules or to be too loose about the rules. It is always the middle path, and to remember the main points that whatever rules are given, it is not that the rules are in and of themselves the points or the ends. Never. The rules are always to promote the higher cause of bhakti, of devotion. So there's this very nice, I forgot, I wanted to say something there, but I forgot. But anyway, there's one famous expression I think in the Upanishads, saying, I can't remember right now the Sanskrit, but saying that all the rules and all the injunctions and prohibitions in the scriptures, they are servants of these two principles: to always remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. That is the point, you know. whatever injunctions are there are for the purpose of bringing about deeper remembrance of Krishna, and whatever prohibitions are there are to help us to not forget Krishna. That's the purpose. And so, that's the spirit behind the rules. And so therefore it may sometimes be necessary to, if the rule, because the rule is not a living thing, the rule is something static, the rule is something dead, actually. And it takes some consciousness to know when and how and where to apply it. So that is always required. And what I wanted to mention was, now we're in this month of Chaturmasya, 4 months, this period of Chaturmasya. And there are particular rulings which are prescribed during this period. And maybe I already mentioned this last week, I don't remember, but for the purpose, it's relevant to this discussion too. Somebody asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, now this period of Chaturmasya is beginning, and there are particular rulings given in the scriptures, particular things you're meant to not eat, but I'm seeing that here in your mat, they're not observing this so strictly. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj replied, saying yes, that he said that the whole purpose of all of these rulings is to promote the spirit of self-giving, the spirit of surrender. And he quoted this Swatmarpanam from Prahlad, one of Prahlad Maharaj's verses, Swatmarpanam, self-giving. This is what Prahlad says in this verse, that all of the rulings given in the scriptures, they are to promote the spirit of self-giving. And so therefore, if one has already come to the point of engaging wholeheartedly in the attempt to give oneself, to surrender oneself, then following so many rules, that becomes secondary. In fact, those things may become an obstruction in the mood and the spirit of self-giving. So this type of awareness, this type of consciousness and discrimination, it should always be there in our application, of whatever rule or stricture it may be. Gurudev, and then so going back to the verse, Ityuchi Javiderapi Kain Karyam, then Gurudev also said, so we've discussed the primary meaning here, that one must be ready to give up their attachment to rules and regulations if necessary in service to Krishna. And then Gurudev, he said this verse, because Sanskrit is a broad language, right? So Gurudev, he also said that this can be understood in another way. There's a secondary meaning here, which is that even if, and this is more applicable for ourselves, that even if one is unable to follow all of the rules and regulations given in the scriptures, they will not be disqualified. They will not be disqualified from devotion if they cannot perfectly follow, perfectly practice so many things. And this is something that Gurudev mentioned in it was actually in his will. And maybe Chinmoy Prabhu was there in his spoken will. This was, and unfortunately, there was an interruption. There was Gurudev was speaking for quite some time. And like mostly about so many practical things for the running of the mission. And then towards the end, he started going into a more broader discussion of the principles, and then there was a nurse who came in, and I think it was a nurse who came and interrupted. Anyhow, but the point that he mentioned there was that ultimately the rules and regulations are not so important. And he said, as I recall, he said, our main principles are humility, tolerance, and respect. And then he emphasized that nothing can kill the spirit of devotion. Nothing can destroy the spirit of devotion. Whatever faulty nature, faulty nature or impurity one may have in a worldly sense, in a material sense, that does not disqualify one from devotion. And so he was encouraging this mood of accommodation and tolerance, that if not everybody can properly follow so many rules and regulations, we should not give so much attention to that, because nothing can destroy the mood of devotion, the spirit of devotion. And so our main focus will be on developing that positive culture, that positive cultivation of devotion. Sometimes I think of it as and we see this sometimes in different leaders, managers, that some they're more performance based. They give more attention to how persons are performing, how much they're achieving, how well they're fitting into the framework or fitting into the whatever it may be. So it's more of something focused on the external aspect of things, actually. And there's also Sanskrit terms for this. Bharavahi, literally it means load carrier. Means someone who's carrying this heavy load of so many like rulings, so much scriptural knowledge, but they don't understand the essence of things. So load carrier. And then the other type is called saragrahi, which means essence drinker. So these are two ways of approaching the running of a mission, our relationships with other devotees, other Vaishnavas, to be fixed more on the outer aspect of things, how well are persons performing or living up to a particular expectation. And then another way, which is looking at the inner heart and consciousness of someone, what's happening on a conscious level. And that was what we saw with our Gurudev, that he was always looking at the heart, the consciousness. And he was always reciprocating on that level. His appreciation wasn't based on a physical achievement of any kind. Of course, not to denounce that, not to disregard that, if that is an expression of heart. The physical aspect, ideally, it should be an expression of the inner consciousness and inner heart. But if you have that devoid, if you have the physical achievement, the physical attainment devoid of the conscious expression and the heart offering, then it's something very dry and dead. So this is something very important for us to remember in our dealings with the devotees, with sincere seekers, and in the running of any enterprise in Krishna consciousness, that the focus has to be on the inner cultivation of a person. Not because sometimes we see, and we do see it, we see it all the time, persons who may be really struggling to live up to a particular standard, but they have something very substantial that they're cultivating within their hearts. And then on the other hand, you may have persons who are very, achieving in an external sense, achieving a high level, you know, behavior or whatever may be. But there's something lacking in that inner cultivation, in that inner heart. So it's a very important point. Yeah, it's very, 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 very important. And then if we don't have an ability, if someone is lacking in that ability, because some people just don't have that, how can we say, sensitivity. You know, some people are more fortunate. They have a greater degree of sensitivity. They're able to kind of like understand somebody's person's hearts better. Some people have that gift. They have that ability. And then there are others who simply don't have that capacity. You know, we can't blame them for that either. But then what comes to our rescue here is Trinada Pisani Chainat. Humility, tolerance, and respect. Humility, tolerance, and respect. You know, and these principles, they actually allow for space, and they allow for giving the benefit of the doubt. And this is very important, to give the benefit of, if we're not able to connect with someone on a heart level, if we're not able to understand where someone's coming from, then at least we can give them the benefit of the doubts. You know, we can believe in their best, that they have even though we may not understand their behavior, we should believe in their sincerity. Or we should at least believe in the potential, in the possibility of their sincerity, and to reciprocate with them on that level. So, you know, this is like these principles, they're, what can we call them? They'll just save you in every situation. When all else fails, you know, these principles, they will save you. These are in our emergency first aid kit, Krishna consciousness. When all else fails, you've got Trinada Pisani Chainada. And then so the conviction that through devotion to Krishna, everything can be attained, to in the interest of such devotion and the cause of devotion, to be ready to give up scriptural rulings if necessary. And then the third point mentioned in this verse is Krishna Padaika, to take exclusive shelter of Krishna in every time, place, and circumstance. In the same way that Draupadi, you know, she wholly offered herself to Krishna. Srila Sridhar, he describes this as the highest point in Mahabharata, even higher than anything given in Bhagavad Gita. It is an expression of wholesale, because Bhagavad Gita is also in Mahabharata. Srila Sridhar said this is higher. And that Draupadi, she's being disrobed in this most horrible way, and in the beginning she's clutching onto her cloth and she's calling out to her husbands, please help me, and nobody's helping her. And then finally she just puts up both of her arms and, whatever will be, let it be. Please, Krishna, you are my only savior. Please, Krishna, you help me. And then Krishna, he came to her aid and supplied the infinite cloth. And it's mentioned that later Draupadi, she asked Krishna, no, why did you take so much time to help me? You know, you saw my predicament in the beginning, you just ignored me. And Krishna said, well, in the beginning you were calling out to your husband, you know, you were depending on other people, you were trying to save yourself. But it was when you fully, surrendered to me, became completely dependent upon me, then I came. When you really asked me, in other words, then I responded. There's one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he says, we must take our shelter under the sky, not under some small shed of our own construction, but our shelter must come from the sky, the big, broad sky. So in the same way, we may seek shelter from this person, that person, this situation or that situation, this security, that security, but we have to take our shelter from the sky, from Krishna, from the absolute. Not to, and it's also about accepting responsibility. It's not about this person or that person. It's coming from Krishna, and I'm taking shelter of him. So it is a very courageous thing to do. It takes some courage to be able to do that. So this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's definition, his summary definition of surrender. And then bhakti. See, bhakti, it is used in different ways, in different contexts. Sometimes bhakti is used synonymously with prema. What we divine love, what we consider to be the goal of life, the highest attainment that the soul could achieve. So like we'll hear the expression prema bhakti sometimes, and sometimes they are used synonymously. And then also bhakti is also used in a general sense to describe the practice which we are engaged in our aspiration for divine love, for prema. Bhakti is like a description of the overall process, the overall practice. So we could say that Shraddha and Sharanagati, they are both elements of the path of bhakti. Mahaprabhu, he describes how in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's this section, I think in Sanatan Shiksha, which we've just been going through, where he describes how the Vedas can be understood as describing three main subject matters: Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, which most of you are familiar with. Sambandha meaning relationship, understanding what is what, understanding the nature, the true nature of reality, and how everything, what is the proper relationship between all of these different elements, understanding what is what, who am I, what is the nature of this world, what is the nature of the supreme reality. This is Sambandha Gyan. And then the next subject matter described in the Vedas is Prayojan, which means the goal of life. And that being accepted by Mahaprabhu as prema, divine love. And then Abhideya, third subject matter, means the process, the path. And Mahaprabhu describes that as bhakti. So our overall practice is also described as being bhakti. Mahaprabhu summarizes Sambandha Gyan as Krishna, because ultimately everything is a manifestation of Krishna or one of his energies. We are also one of Krishna's energies. Then he summarizes Prayojan as prema, divine love, and he summarizes Abhideya, the path, as bhakti. So the practice of pure devotion. And then because there are different types of devotion. And so there's karma mishra bhakti, bhakti that is mixed with the aspiration for different attainments of this worldly plane, whatever that may be. Then there's jnana mishra bhakti, bhakti that is mixed with the desire for liberation or the desire for knowledge. And so Srila Rupa Goswami, he's given this very key verse. How does it go? Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama, where he's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where he's defining what is uttam bhakti, what is the highest type of bhakti, shuddha bhakti, ananya bhakti, exclusive devotion, pure devotion, as that which is free from anya bilash. Anya bilash means all of our random, fleeting desires for enjoyment in this world, all of the random, whimsical things that float around in our head, in our heads. I want to do this, I want to eat that, I want to watch this. And in this modern age, it's horrible, it's awful, just all the time, you know, there's so many attractions everywhere. So we're full of anya bilash. and then karma here in this context means like kind of a systematic practice of bhakti, of devotion, but with the idea in mind of achieving particular results. So in an organized way, like planning out, we can say like a retirement plan, you know, that like Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives the example of a bank balance, like performing particular deeds that will ensure a good afterlife. That in one's later life and future lives, they'll have some good credits that they can spend. And then gyan, the tendency for knowledge, liberation, these things. So in this verse, it's very nice, Rupa Goswami, he uses this word, anavritam. The word avritam means covering. So he's saying that what is pure, and this is a very valuable point. All of these things, all of these tendencies, they're described as coverings. They're not inherent. They are not intrinsic. They are just coverings. They're superficial coverings to the soul and to the true nature of the soul. So what is the highest type of devotion? That which is free from these coverings of anya bilash, karma, and jnana. Anukulyena krishnanushilanam, and it is favorable to Krishna, means it makes Krishna happy, as Krishna likes it. So free from any selfish tinge and pleasing to Krishna. Pleasing to Krishna. This is pure devotion. This is the practice of pure devotion. This is Bhagavad Dharma. You know, simply trying to make God happy and make the devotees of God happy. You know, it is as simple as that. Well, that's all that comes to mind right now. Does anyone want to add anything or ask anything or suggest anything, share anything?
Didi, if I can ask just about Draupadi and that incident, can we say that, you know, at first she's trying to save herself, then she's asking for her husband to save herself, but in the end, when she surrenders to Krishna, it's not that she's asking Krishna to help, she's just, whatever will be, Krishna is my shelter.
I'm not sure. I would have to check. There's an article, let me see. There's an article, I can probably find it quite quickly. There's an article where Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses this. I can see. he says there. But one thing I remember from there, which is significant, is she refers to Krishna there as Gopi Jana Vallabha. She, so like Vrindavan is Krishna's position and nature in Vrindavan is referred to there. And it may be the only place in Mahabharata where that happens. I'm just looking for this. This Prema Dharma, the search doesn't work so well all the time. I've got the name of it. It's Draupadi's Prayer. It's called Draupadi's Prayer. Anyhow, maybe we can.
Pravridam.
Oh, did you find it?
I'm not sure. Feeling my separation, Draupadi called out to me, O Govinda, and I've become more and more indebted to her for that. So much so that the memory of it never leaves my heart. I'm not sure if that's it.
May I add something, Vishakha Devi?
Yes, Prabhu.
Because Draupadi knows Krishna as Vasudeva. So she knows he is God, but she has some doubts. So that's why Krishna waited, and then ultimately she surrenders. It's all about Sharanagati, surrender. When she surrenders wholeheartedly, then Krishna supplied everything.
Yeah.
So that's why Gurudev told us, so Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada also says, you believe that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once we convince, then he supplies everything. Because he is omniscient, he is omnipotent.
Yes. Yes.
Opinion.
Yes. I mean, we will think of the relationship that Krishna has with the Pandavas and Draupadi as being eternal. But it may be, as Prabhu is saying, that there's some Leela there of her coming to realize more Krishna's divine nature. I don't know. I'm not so familiar with Mahabharata, but it is possible, certainly. Yeah, I'm not getting this. The site's not working properly. But we can maybe discuss that more on another occasion. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we'll finish up. I'm still packing.
Next week, we're starting at 10, is that correct? 10 a.m. Pacific time zone? Half hour earlier, is that true?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because that will be, it's an hour later in Italy. So that means that will be 7 p.m. in Italy, which will be a good time. So yeah, so half an hour later. So that'll be 10 a.m. California time. And that'll be, what time will that be? British time?
That would be 6, right?
It will be 6.
Yeah.
It'll be 6 p.m. British and Irish time. 6 p.m.
8 p.m.
British
South Africa.
Sorry, what did you say?
8 p.m. South Africa.
8 p.m. South Africa. And Hungary, it will be 7 p.m. It's the same time as Italy. And Florida, I don't know. I don't know about Florida.
Someone just joined us from Florida.
California.
3 hours earlier. Later. Giving me another time because I'm trying to get into the class and I'm always getting here late.
So then it'll be half an hour later next week. So
earlier.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
Sorry, I'm terrible with math, 6. Somebody help me here. We'll
figure it out later.
So we're doing it. All I know is we're doing it 7 p.m. Italian time. That's all I know.
we have the duty to find out where is our local time. So
I can't hear you guys.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was saying that that's enough. If you know what time you're starting, our duty is to find out when we can join. And I was going to say that it's so reassuring hearing all these topics, because sometimes we tend to forget and get lost in what we are doing. Like, well, I'm going to speak for myself, like maybe someone like a robot, do this, do that, this manner, that manner. And sometimes I feel like, where's my place? I sometimes wonder, and I know I maybe shouldn't, but it's my mind, and listening this is like reassuring and reminding me that Krishna is our shelter. Like, I'm not supposed to worry so much about anything else, and just try to give myself and give whatever I have in hand, I don't know how to express it.
Jai, that was beautiful. That was
so
beautiful.
good. It's just that, but grateful for this happening, grateful for this message being shared, and that's it. Thank you to you, and thanks to Chinmoy Prabhu and everyone who makes this possible.
Jai. Thank you for sharing, Daivuti. Thank you. Okay, well, maybe we'll stop there, and Chinmoy Prabhu will tell you the time.
I've discovered that Milan is 9 hours ahead of California. Yeah. So whatever time I post, that should work out. We can figure it out. We're smart. We can do it.
We can all check Mother Google and compare the time with Italy and the place we are at. And that's it.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I'll just cheat and ask Jax.
Yeah,
okay. Dandavat pranams to everyone. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, and we'll meet again soon, I hope.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi.
Dandavat Vishakha Devi, Dandavat